told me. "The dress is the perfect size and you look adorable." The hot, dreadful summer had passed and peaceful autumn had come. I needed warmer clothes, so I dug out all of my fall clothes and tried them on one by one. I found a violet velvet dress and put it on. My mother had made it for me the first year of school. It was too long at the time, and I had to walk very carefully not to leave dust on the ground. The dress was embroidered at the neckline with pink, black, red, and green beads. I want to show this beautiful dress to my friends, I thought. I hadn't gone to school in such a long time. I missed seeing my friends there. Summer vacation was so long, and I was ready to go back. I want to see my friends who live near school, I thought. I asked my mother for train fare. "But, Sumi, school hasn't started yet," Mother said. "I just want to check it out," I said. "I'll be back soon." She gave me chun won, which was about $1. It had been a long time since I'd touched brand new paper money. "Thank you, Mom," I said. I put the money in my pocket and ran to the train station. There were usually many people waiting, but on that day the station was empty. I didn't even see the ticket man. I took out my money and inspected it. "This is real money," I exclaimed. I waited for the train, but it never came. I decided to walk to school, even though it was a couple miles away. I don't mind walking, I thought. During the school year, my mother would give me and my brothers money for train tickets, but we usually saved it for a rainy day. When we walked to school, we would always stroll through the Myeongdong area, where we window shopped the famous stores that lined the street. It was always the fun part of walking. "I'm going to save this." I put it in my pocket. "I'm in 3rd grade now, and I can walk to school on my own. I don't need my brothers." I hopped and skipped through the streets and I crossed the Myeongdong area. "I have chun won. Maybe I should buy a bag of popcorn and get chewing gum." But the stores were empty. The streets felt different. There were broken windows, burned buildings, and the famous fashion stores had closed their doors. I stopped at the children's clothes shop. A child-sized mannequin stood behind the window, but there were no clothes on them. One had lost her hand, and the other one had a broken leg, and they were waiting for their owner to come fix them. "I'm so sorry, but I can't help you," I said. I sneaked into the shop next door. It sold fancy watches and clocks, but I didn't hear the tick-tock of grandfather clocks or the chirping of cuckoo clocks. I didn't see any wristwatches in the glass cabinet either. I remembered where all the jewelry used to be, but now there are only empty showcases. I thought of the communist soldiers wearing dozens of stolen watches on their arms and belts. "Robbers," I said.
The grandfather clock was too tall for the shelf, so it stood 90 years on the floor.
I went back outside and saw the historic theater, now burned and deserted. As I started walking again, I sensed that a stranger was following me. It was a boy. When I walked faster, he walked faster. When I slowed down, he did too. I turned around and looked away, and then went into an empty building. I didn't recognize him, and I couldn't figure out why he was following me. Does he think I'm pretty because of my dress? I looked back and saw that he was an older boy, big and ugly. My heart began pumping faster. He needed something from me. Money. I grabbed the money in my pocket and ran as fast as I could, but tripped over a rock. Blood began running down my scratched hands and legs and stained my dress. I felt a hand press my side. I held back tears because I didn't want the boy to think I was childish or scared of him. I stood up and ran again, but I didn't think the boy was following me anymore. I took a deep breath and checked my pockets. "I lost it!" I shouted. "Robber!" He had snatched my money. I was so angry, my hands began to tremble. I could have bought a bag of candy or ice cream with the chun won. I could have bought chewing gum to chew all day long. My face got hot with anger and tears ran down. Only the cool breeze cooled me down. I ran the rest of the way to school and arrived there shortly. The gates were wide open and the building was in a terrible shape. The walls were black from fire and most of the windows were broken and cracked. I ran to the water faucet to clean my hands, legs, and dress. I turned on the faucet, but not a drop of water came out. It made me thirsty and more. I walked over to the main entrance and went inside. There were no desks or chairs in the classrooms. I inspected each room one by one, like a principal doing a checkup. I went to my 1st grade classroom. Pieces of chalk were scattered on the floor. I picked one up and drew on the blackboard. "Here are 3 apples in a basket," I said as I drew, imitating my first grade teacher. I had liked him so much. Then Mother put 4 more apples in the basket. "How many apples in the basket now?" "Yes, Kija, please," I said. Kija had been one of my friends in class. "There are 6.5 apples," I said, pretending to be Kija. "Do you mean 3 apples plus 4 equals 6.5 apples?" "Yes, sir." "Why?" "My brother ate half of an apple before my mother put it in the basket. I acted all the parts by myself, pretending to be both my teacher and the student. I was drawing when I saw a person's shadow move across the blackboard. I was surprised and immediately jumped back. "Hi, good job. I'm going to hire you as a teacher in the future. You have so much talent," an old gentleman said. I knew him. He was my school principal. I was a little embarrassed but glad to see him. "When will school start, sir?" I asked. My principal smiled. "We have to repair the buildings first, Sumi, and we need desks, chairs, blackboards, and teachers." "Teachers?" I asked. My voice was softer. "Why?" This is a very sad story. I sent letters to all the teachers asking them to come to a teachers' meeting, but the post office returned most of the mail. I will make an announcement when we're ready to have school again. Can you wait till then? I wanted to ask about my first grade teacher, but I was scared I would get bad news. I missed him so much. Some boys were playing kickball on the playground. They played with a crushed can instead of a real ball, but they didn't complain. They ran around the bases, raising dirt behind them. Sweat soaked their faces and shirts. I kicked a rock and walked towards the boys. "Can I play?" Chapter 10. Searching on the street. My mother still hadn't heard news from her sister, so my cousin Kyunja stayed at our house. I had always wanted a younger sister to play with. But for weeks, Kyunja called out for her mother and cried all day and all night. Uncle Park brought us food, piling rice, wheat, and other goods mountain high in our courtyard. I thought it was enough to feed our family for years and years. I was so excited that I hopped around the house. But early next morning, my mother opened our gates wide and shared everything with our neighbors. People formed a line so long I couldn't see the end of it. As my mother began to give people grain, I put toothbrushes and cookies in their bags until there was nothing left. I looked carefully at each person, hoping that one of my friends would come. "I miss Minja so much," I said. I'd forgive her if I ever saw her again. But Minja never came through our gates. "Where is everybody? Are they dead?" I murmured. I was lonely, but I at least had my doll Hia to play with. I combed her hair, changed her clothes, and talked to her. But my cousin Kyunja cried bitterly. "Mom, where are Kyunja's parents?" I asked. "I don't know. Your Uncle Park told me that when he searched your aunt's house, he found Kyunja crying alone." My mother held back tears. Kyunja was a pretty girl with straight black hair, a milky round face, a rosy mouth, and peach-colored cheeks. I tried to hug her, but she pushed me away and called out for her mother. I was so sad because I couldn't do anything for her. One day I decided to try and find Kyunja's mother. I searched the streets and the downtown markets and checked each woman's face one by one. Many people had lost their homes and relatives and were wandering around looking for family. I walked all the way down to Han River, an hour from our house. Homeless people crowded under the bridges. Some people were still in shock and walked around in tattered clothes. When I saw them, my heart filled with sorrow. Then I realized that the sun was starting to set. It turned the clouds red as it dipped behind the mountain. "Oh my, it's late and I'm lost!" My heart began pounding. The darkness frightened me. There was no one on the road and the cold wind threw dust in my face. I held Hia tight and fought back tears. How could I survive by myself? Would I have to live with the homeless under the bridge? How could I make food to eat? How would I spend the nights on the street with cold winter? full of dried fruit. "Oh, poor little girl," she said. "You must have lost your family. Where is your house?" I couldn't say anything because I was too worried about losing my family. I started crying. The lady held me and took me to the police station, which frightened me even more. I thought the police's job was to capture people and put them in jail. A police officer paroled in front of the building. I didn't want to go in. "I found this girl crying on the street," the woman said. "Can you help me find her family?" "We will take care of it," the officer said. He was skinny and sharp, but his face changed when he smiled. "What is your name?" he asked. "Sumi." "How old are you?" 8. "What school are you attending?" "It's closed." "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Sumi. I hope it opens again soon. Let's go inside for now and wait for your family." The police station looked different from the inside. It was brightly lit, and a giant stove in the middle of the station heated the whole place. The officer put more wood in the stove. It began to crackle as it caught fire. The officer rubbed the dust off his hands, stepped behind a desk, and motioned for me to come over. He asked me the same questions as before, and I answered the same way. He jotted notes down in a thick notebook. His round, gentle face made me feel comfortable. "Do you want something to eat?" he asked as he finished jotting notes down. "I baked some yams on the stove. They're still hot. Have some." He gave me a baked yam, and I gulped it down hungrily. It was so delicious that I totally forgot my misery. The phone rang as I ate. "Ring, ring." Yes, a girl named Sumi. "She's here," the officer said. I held tightly onto my sweet yam. I was getting used to the officers and was enjoying my time at the police station. The officer hung up and looked over. "It was good news for you, Sumi. It was your mother. She's going to send your uncle. He will be here soon." Uncle Park arrived at the station in no time, before I had a chance to even finish my yam. "Sumi, there you are!" he shouted when he saw me. "Your mother was so worried we called every police station in Seoul looking for you. At last we found you." My Uncle Park made me thank the policeman, and we walked outside together to his jeep. I waved goodbye as we drove away. Uncle Park tried to cheer me up, but all I could think about was all the yams I could have eaten at the police station. I could have eaten a lot more if Uncle Park hadn't gotten here so quickly, I thought. Mother rejoiced when she saw me enter through the gates. I had felt safe at the police station, but it was nothing compared to seeing my mother again. It was so nice to feel her hug and to smell her sweet scent. I was so sorry that she had been worried. My cousin Kyunja came out to see me too, but she didn't say much. She was still crying every day for her missing family. Now I knew what she felt like, and it made me feel sad to see her.